So many sides of Kenny Omega. He continues to silence his critics. He continues to have great matches night after night. Kenny Omega will go down as one of the very best.
And now they're going for the Biz Quiz.
What's going on?
Whoa. What is this?
If he's here, is he?
I'm waiting on the monitor. Everyone's
I know this is going to be a ploy. It's going to work. He is. Oh, the leader of the Bullet Club, and that has been a very controversial faction. Back and forth, people have been going with who is Bullet Club, who is Elite. Jay White is in the Impact Zone.
This crowd is stunned and silent.
God's name is he here? And for what? Is Jay White the guy? Is Jay White the guy to beat Kenny Omega? For his never openweight championship?
I'm sitting here. I am disbelieved to what's going on. Jay White is here in the Impact Zone.
Social media is exploding right now.
And now Jay White standing in the ring with the Biz Quiz.
Jay White, who's carried New Japan Pro Wrestling and the Bullet Club, now stands in the ring across from Kenny Omega, the Good Brothers, and Don Callis.
Throw it up. Throwing it up right here. Throwing it up. Kind of looking at Jay.
Is this?
What's going on?
I have no idea.
What? Oh, way off! Here we go!
Wow. My goodness. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Wrestling Weekend Recap, where we bring you the good, the bad, and the latest inside news of what's going on this week with Monday Night Raw, Friday Night Smackdown, AEW Dynamite, NXT, and of course, Impact Wrestling. And before we get on with the show, we want to mention our infamous disclaimer, and that is that everything that we say and state is strictly our opinion. It does not necessarily reflect the views of the platform that we're on or the wrestling companies that we talked about. And now, don't have a cow, man. And just like how we stated hours ago, and from what you just heard and seen, we are completely stunned. And I'm sure Jade got excited once he saw this. Finally, are we going to see a huge payoff of this whole forbidden door type of deal? And I just couldn't believe my eyes. I just couldn't believe my eyes of the fact of what we just seen. Of course, Kenny Omega retained his Impact World Championship against Sammy Callahan hours ago at Slammiversary. It was a hell of a match. It was a hell of a pay-per-view altogether. I'm glad I got to order it, and we watched it with a very good, keen eye, but we just didn't expect that and other surprises that actually took place hours ago, and we're going to begin the rundown of the results of what took place just hours ago at Impact Wrestling's Slammiversary. And then, of course, we're going to go into what could be the reason that Jay White showed up tonight, representing Bullet Club, the leader of the Bullet Club, and the current never open weight champion. So, of course, there was their version of the kickoff show. And, of course, it started out with the Knockouts tag titles. Fire and Flavor defended it against Rosemary and Havoc. Both teams obviously were in it to win it, no doubt. A lot of back and forth, and we've seen a lot of pretty much a power tug between both teams, and they were obviously doing whatever it took to win. And at the end of everything, we finally got new Knockouts Tag Champions in the form of Rosemary and Havoc, which of course we've seen this past Thursday on Impact that Havoc became a part of Decay, and they brought it home to Decay. So we got Knockouts Tag Champions. Finally, Rosemary and Havoc, they're working together, and they are the new Knockouts Tag Champions. The Ultimate X match, Jade. It was of tremendous flashbacks, but I believe these guys, as they first saw it some, decades ago, Ultimate X was obviously revolutionary, and they brought it back in the form with the players now currently, and of course with one TNA original. Petey Williams was involved, the current champion Josh Alexander, Chris Bay, Rohin Raju. Is that how you pronounce it? Rohit Raju, I'm sorry. And Trey Miguel, the Ultimate X match, Jade. It was obviously a phenomenal one.
No doubt about it, and that's pretty much what is the staple of Impact Wrestling. That is the X Division. It's been one of the company's staples for many years, and these amazing lightweights pretty much put it all right there in that ring. It was sort of like a nip and tuck battle. The way how they try to climb, and pretty much it was where he tried to use every innovative tactic. He pretty much used the rope. He pretty much used a steel hook, and no matter how he tried, he just couldn't get the belt. But nevertheless, these 6 men together, they just put on quite a show, quite a match for the people there that night at Nashville, and they pretty much kicked off Slammiversary with a bang, and pretty much hats out to all of them. But once again, still the X Division champion Josh Alexander.
The mixed tag match between Brian Myers and Tennille Dashwood versus Matt Cardona and a mystery opponent, and who ended up being the mystery opponent, none other than his real life current girlfriend, and who we see not that long ago in Ring of Honor to be part of their women's tournament going on there. But I'm surprised to actually see her here, none other than Chelsea Green. So obviously these 4 individuals got it on. Chelsea Green returned to Impact Wrestling, showed her stuff and what she's made of, taking it to Tennille Dashwood, and of course Brian Myers and Matt Cardona, no strangers to each other. They were definitely giving it to one another. They still had tremendous history from when they were as a tag team now to just bitter enemies. And at the end of it all, the team of Matt Cardona and Chelsea Green stood strong for the capacity crowd that was there in Nashville to witness one heck of a mixed tag match. Jade, the one-on-one match with W. Morrissey, who is going in strong, taking on Eddie Edwards.
Pretty much this grudge match couldn't mean a lot more. I mean, pretty much for all intents and purposes, Eddie Edwards became now the constant for the roster of Impact Wrestling. And now, ever since his insurgence to Impact Wrestling, W. Morrissey is on a quest to once again rebuild his stock from the ground up. And pretty much. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'll say pretty much. Morrissey is pretty much acting like the bully of the block. He's pretty much picking on people and hurting them every which way. And Edwards just said I'm fed up. I'm fed up with you. I'm fed up with you antagonizing people. I'm gonna stand to, and we got to give it to Eddie Edwards. Eddie Edwards gave it to everything, but the menacing Morrissey just gave him a pounding, and that is why he emerged victorious.
And of course, we witnessed a last-minute addition onto the card for tonight's Slammiversary. Of course, Shira and Madman Fulton were upset of the fact that their guys didn't come out one or the other, the winners of Ultimate X, and obviously they came in to complain about it until out of nowhere, Scott D'Amore was actually glad that they were there in the ring already and maybe wanting to get their frustrations out against a returning Finn Juice. And obviously Finn Juice was up to the task and ready to compete, and they brought it all out to Shira and Madman Fulton for Finn Juice to come out with the victory in that last-minute edition. Jade, the next singles matchup was Moose against a TNA original, Chris Sabin.
Pretty much. I mean, it's been quite a while. Moose has been pretty much a lot of fans are saying he's becoming more arrogant, he's becoming more full of himself. But night in and out, he intends to back it up every time. Every time he gets into the ring, bell for bell, he just says, "I'm ready to back it up." But nonetheless, we talk about one of the who's pretty much one of the pillars who will become Impact Wrestling, and that is Chris Sabin. And Chris Sabin said that he will not take any gruff from Moose, and he pretty much gave it all. And these two win toe to toe inside that ring. And no matter how much Moose tried to get the advantage, Chris Sabin got the better of him, and that's why he ended up with the win.
The Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match took place as the Good Brothers took on Violent by Design against Rich Swann and his partner Willie Mack. I'm sorry, I almost lost my train of thought. Against Falaba and his last-minute replacement, which was a surprise to all of us, the debut of formerly known as No Way Jose in NXT, now just simply known as No Way. Obviously, these teams were in it to win it. A lot of back and forth, and we've seen starting out was none other than the two people that were no strangers to each other, Rich Swann and No Way. Obviously, they were seeing to see if they still got it against one another, and they have, and it just turned completely crazy from the middle of it, leading all the way to the very end. And just like how I even felt and predicted, the Good Brothers walked out with the win of that Fatal 4-Way match. Jade, Deonna Purrazzo had to defend her Knockouts Championship against a mystery opponent, and that mystery opponent was none other than AEW's Thunder Rosa.
My God, the building just shook the moment her theme music played and the graphic appeared right on the Tron, and the moment she appeared right in front of the people in Nashville, and Deonna Purrazzo was like, unbelievable! I get to face you and defend my belt against you. And yes, this women's title match spoke volumes. Both Thunder Rosa and Deonna, they just went at it and it just goes to show the pretty much the desire exemplified by Thunder Rosa. She always brings that desire, always that tenacity, that grit in the ring. But pretty much the Virtuosa, of course, no having that, she always pulled every trick that she has, and pretty much she gave Thunder Rosa gave everything all, but unfortunately it is the Virtuosa still the Knockouts champion.
And at the very end of that match, none other than a surprise show up and return to Impact Wrestling, none other than Hardcore Country. Mickie James stood in as Deonna Purrazzo was celebrating her victory and retained her Knockouts Championship. Obviously, she felt offended by the way that Mickie James just came in and ruined the celebration for the Virtuosa. And obviously, there was some respect handed there from Mickie James going towards Deonna Purrazzo. But at the end of it, Deonna Purrazzo was not happy about it. She didn't want nothing of it, not even the invitation towards the new programming for NWA Empower, as obviously there was a slap to the face of the future Hall of Famer Mickie James, and Mickie James returned fired with the Mick kick at the end. It was Mickie James standing tall, and obviously the Virtuosa leaving from the building with egg on her face. Jade, this leaves the final matchup and the main event of the night. Will Sammy Callahan be the hero that Impact Wrestling needs as he took on Mr. Belt Collector Kenny Omega as he defended the Impact World Championship?
And pretty much the match lived up to its billing. It was announced last Thursday it was going to be a no disqualification, and both the champion and the challenger, they just practically started bashing each other with the chairs, with the cookie sheets, ripping each other to shreds, pretty much with the barbed wire. Sammy Callahan pretty much acting over brick with a pizza cutter right over Kenny's forehead, and the way how these two men, and not to mention referees getting knocked out, the way how these two men practically win all. Practically they win how barbaric they got just to prove the point. It just spoke volumes. And pretty much the one of the highlights of that match was when once again the Impact Tag Champions, the Good Brothers, came to Kenny. They all of a sudden, members of the Impact Wrestling said no. It's like that you want to get involved just because there's a no disqualification, but it was clearly evident that they were there to act on Kenny's behalf, and therefore they were neutralized and therefore sent back to the dressing room. But nevertheless, Kenny, Sammy, they just went at it. They nearly went full bore, and just when Sammy thought that he had Kenny's number, once again Don Callis manages to maneuver the tide in Kenny's favor, and therefore as a result, Kenny ends up retaining his belt collection. He's still the Impact Champion.
After all it was said and done, Kenny Omega, still Mr. Belt Collector, still holding on to the Impact World Championship along with the AAA Mega title and being current AEW World Heavyweight Champion. And just like as the point where the Biz Cliz was about to fully celebrate and come full circle at Slammiversary, the appearance of the current Bullet Club leader, Jay White, makes his surprising show up to Impact Wrestling in Nashville at Slammiversary, holding on to the Never Openweight Championship, and we're all wondering what is the reason for him showing up. Is this the huge payoff that Jade might have predicted? Is all of this part of the about to begin the Bullet Club Civil War, or is all of this a huge payoff? Was this just a huge plan after 5 years? Is all of this coming together? We still don't know, as the Good Brothers and Don Callis and barely Kenny Omega was even skittish about even throwing up, the Biz Cliz sign up. But then all of a sudden it got cut off where somebody was coming through the ramp, and that's how the show ended. And you got to see a little bit of the beginning of this episode. But I did a little digging, and it turns out that the person who was coming down was none other than David Finlay, because it turns out that David Finlay will have an opportunity at the Never Openweight Championship going up against the current leader of Bullet Club, Jay White, and that will take place on August 14th for the event of Resurgence in Los Angeles, California. So I'm pretty sure that matchup, it's already been signed. It's about to take place for next month, and it's going to be something to literally look forward to. Obviously, we don't know if Impact don't want to bring in any storylines from New Japan just yet because it doesn't mesh, but still, this shocking arrival of Jay White having to stand in front of the Elite. We still don't know what the big deal is. We're going to be on it. I know Jade still has questions that needs answers. So do I. The whole world does, because that is how you end one hell of a pay-per-view that took place just hours ago. Impact Wrestling Slammiversary. I give it a 4.8 out of 5. I don't know about you.
I'm not saying 4.8, but they say one at a time. I say 8 out of 10. Definitely, I was riveted by the show. Now, and especially the pretty much the surprises. Yes, Chelsea Green, the Switchblade, Thunder Rosa, Benjuice, and pretty much this is all stemming, and not to mention the bumper that we just saw, and of course for somebody who saw, they say, well, long live the Drunk King. And if you're thinking who I'm thinking it could be, let's see if it is him making his Impact Wrestling debut.
Well, we still don't know who him actually is, but obviously we'll get into that in just coming up in just a few short weeks. That way you can leak to us who that person is. But that was Slammiversary that took place just hours ago. We're going to still continue and review everything that took place this week. Of course, Raw this past Monday, with what happened, their last episode in the Thunderdome. I wanted to get into some audio clippings, but I think we're gonna leave that for when Raw comes back with a full audience, and that'll be in Dallas, Texas, already this upcoming Monday. So just to be fair, but one of the highlights that we deemed was definitely the match, finally one-on-one of Xavier Woods going up against the not so almighty champion Bobby Lashley. And at the very end, what I can recall is that obviously Xavier doing it once again, giving it everything that he had, and won the match by miracle, because that just gave the New Day a full view of them actually having an advantage, especially Kofi Kingston, who's going to face Bobby Lashley for the WWE title coming up tomorrow night at Money in the Bank. So that match is going to be very interesting. And of course, we're going to give you the rundown of the matches on the card for Money in the Bank tomorrow night. So we're going to jump on already to NXT. And one of the highlights that I think we should definitely talk about, I mean, it was a really good show. But nonetheless, there were things that took place, and I might as well start going backwards. We actually got to see the appearance of Mandy Rose in NXT. And we wonder, what is the reason for that? So supposedly, one of the headline news that actually came out, the reason why Mandy Rose is in NXT is because obviously there's been a switch in talent. Mandy Rose has been sent to NXT so that way she can get a fresh start in that brand. And one of the people that are actually being sent from NXT towards maybe Raw, I believe, or SmackDown, we don't know, would be Aaliyah. And we just witnessed Aaliyah also this past Tuesday having to lose another match with representing the Robert Stone brand, with her former tag team partner, Jessie Kamea, having to lose to,
I think it was Casey Catanzaro and Ken Carter that
night. There you go. Exactly. So at the end of it all, Aaliyah got frustrated, took it out on Robert Stone, and she was done. She was done with the Robert Stone brand. With Robert Stone, that was it for her. And from what it looked like afterwards, it seemed like maybe Robert Stone could be lifted if La Güera Loca would either join in the Taliban or be the one to run it herself. So we still don't know what the power shuffle is with that whole angle, but we're still going to watch it. Obviously, Mandy Rose, gave a little bit of her opinion, saying, looks like there may be a shift in power there, but Mandy Rose was seen in the match that Teray was having. So we don't know if she was interested in Teray or she was interested in the other opponent. But nonetheless, that's how Mandy Rose was seen. And the reason why Mandy Rose is there is obviously there's a switch in talent. She's going to be in NXT now, and maybe Aaliyah is going to be passed on somewhere in the main roster for her to get an opportunity after so long, after so long. And she hasn't really done anything big, just being a part of the Robert Stone brand after all these years that she's been in NXT. But hopefully this could change her luck for the better. And like I stated, we're going to jump into the audio clip of what happened this past Tuesday with the main event as far as the NXT title, as Karrion Kross had to defend it against the number one contender representing the Way, the leader of the Gargano Way, Johnny Gargano. And it was an incredible match. I really believe that, both of these guys took it to the limit. Let's not forget that Samoa Joe was a special guest referee, so he wanted to make sure that everything was intact and in order. That way, there could be a clear-cut winner, nonetheless. So, you can bear with me. We're going to get into that clip in just a bit. And we are going to hear some of the audio highlights of it. And here we go.
Pick up the pace. Russ cross the outside. And Gargano knows he's got to take it to the champion tonight. Gargano throwing through. Push it to the win. Wiping out Cross. Gargano noted he was there for Cross's beginning. Tonight will be Cross's end. But Cross, Gargano, stalking the challenge. Area Cross is just knowing Cross. Made of the second is back in the ring. Same stuff as everybody else. You take your eye off him for more than a second, he rises up from the ring. And then we heard the words between these two. Cross shoulder first. Got you done. And now Cross. Measuring, stalking, Gargano. And this is against again, right to the back. Cross into the cover. And time is not up on Karrion Kross's reign as champion. And still the NXT champion, Karrion Kross. Karrion Kross defeating Johnny Gargano.
And that was one heck of a scene that we saw at the very end. Samoa Joe having to be choked out by the still NXT champion Karrion Kross. And from what I understand, if this is the sign of things to come, it looks like Samoa Joe is going to be fully recovered and we're going to see him back in competition.
Well, pretty much from what we saw last Tuesday, pretty much Johnny Gargano could have been, well, I'm not going to say could have been. He had several opportunities and probably regaining the NXT title, but Karrion Kross proved to be quite the power force in carrying the brand. And after what we saw last at the conclusion of the match last Tuesday, how Karrion Kross pretty much nearly applied nearly choked out Joe with his own coquina clutch. Pretty much, it's still a possibility to say that Samoa Joe's possible comeback is imminent, but nevertheless, Karrion Kross may have survived Johnny Gargano, but chances are that there's some sort of hell to wait for him, and we'll see what will happen for Karrion Kross and within a matter of time.
Other things that happened in NXT, of course, the unfortunate loss of Cameron Grimes from last week, having to lose against LA Knight, where he had to become his butler. We finally see him in the role, and obviously Cameron Grimes is as sharp as he looks into the role, he's living it up, but also he's getting away with murder at the same time. So can't wait to see what is up to the sneakiness and the tricks from Cameron Grimes next week, as he's still LA Knight's butler. We got to see as well with the breakout tournament, Ikemen Jiro against Duke Hudson for the first round of that tournament. Very impressive from both of these guys. I'm definitely into Ikemen Jiro. I mean, his flamboyance, his personality, the energy that he carries with him. I mean, that just obviously shows that he's got a future as well. But we don't want to cut out the power and the arrogance from Duke Hudson, who shows that he's beyond confident overall and that maybe he can have a shot at winning. And he defeated Ikemen Jiro in that first round breakout tournament. We've seen the match between Dexter Lumis and Santos Escobar. Of course, it was pretty much a match and spookiness, pretty much, because like a little portion of the time, Dexter Lumis was just bringing out the rest of all of Legado del Fantasma, and it was just a little, a little bit of tad of entertainment just to get a giggle out of. I ended up seeing Bobby Fish against Tyler Russ, a member of the newest group of the Diamond Mine. And that was a good way to start, even though Bobby Fish wanted to get to his former partner from the Undisputed Era, Roderick Strong. And of course, Xia Li stepped up into the NXT Women's Champion space to say, I want a shot at it. It's my time. Give it to me. And of course, that's going to end up coming up for next week, Tuesday. And there's going to be a one-on-one for that championship. So can't wait to see what NXT is going to bring next week on Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central on the USA Network. And we move on now to AEW Dynamite. Night 1 of Fyter Fest. It was so damn freaking explosive. It was something else. Man, the energy up in that arena, man, it was something else. It was like a pay-per-view event, despite the fact that it was on live TV and you had to see it picture to picture. I wish the picture to picture they still leave huge for what's going on in the ring, because who really gives a damn about the commercials? Nobody cares about the freaking commercials. But with advertisements nowadays with TV and radio, they just want to make a big deal out of it. I mean, to me in Chicago, radio sucks because obviously, especially with since I hear more Spanish than English, but I'm not going to get into that. They give more time to the advertisements than to the music. It's like, what's the point of even hearing radio? I'd just rather hear streaming services. Same thing with TV. It's like, okay, cool. TV ads, that's pretty much anywhere if you watch it on YouTube, TV, whatever. But still, the picture-in-picture thing, there should be a bigger balance, a bigger shot on the action, a little bit less on the commercial ads. I don't know what you guys think, but I mean, my opinion, I think that would make a lot of perfect sense, because that way you don't take away from what's going on in the ring, even though there's no announcers talking or anything like that. But still, the action is the action, even though some of it, if it's good, they'll replay, once they get back on the air and all of that. Still, Fyter Fest Night 1 was off the hook. No doubt about that. There's so much that I want to get into, but obviously we're only going to be talking about highlights. But we can talk about other things that took place. Like, for example, see, this is what I was talking about. Miro changed the look of his Turner Network Television Championship. Oh, and my mistake here. I thought it was a green strap. It was actually a white strap. But the lettering of champion was in green. So that's where I goofed up on. Just a lot of things in the air. Like, for example, Andrade, who was he searching for with his backstage promo? He said that either he wanted one of the members of Triángulo de la Muerte or all three of them of Death Triangle. We don't know if he wants all three of them or if he wants one of them one by one or if there's a specific one. But nonetheless, any of those three guys having a match with Andrade is going to be off the chart. It's going to be explosive, and that'll be refreshing as a experience to watch on TV or even live as far as professional wrestling is concerned. Having to witness Matt Hardy against Christian is like a flashback of the old days, but now it's AEW. It's years later. Both of these guys are Hall of Fame worthy, and at the end of it all, it didn't matter who won that match. who even won that match. To me, it didn't matter because they still put on a very good show, even though in reality, they could have cut their match just a little bit short just to give the other guys more time because, we've seen them do their thing, whether it be singles or tag over, 30 plus years.
Right. No doubt about it. Christian Cage, Matt Hardy, their history dates back years ever since both of them were in the WWE and their respective tag teams. Of course, Matt, part of the Hardy Boys, Christian, who tagged along with the pretty much Edge, and of course we're going to delve into what we would expect to see tomorrow at Money in the Bank. But pretty much it's like they picked off from where they left off years ago. Both Matt and Christian, they gave the fans in the Austin area quite a match, and yeah, they didn't need to bring no table, they didn't bring no chairs, not even a ladder, but they just brought their A game, something that they still had for the last 15 plus years, and pretty much Matt pretty much gave it wrong. But this is just hypothetical. But I think it was Christian who emerged victorious in that one-on-one match.
And I'm disappointed at looking at the list on YouTube. They did not have the promo of Dr. Britt Baker. And lately, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, she was on fire with her freaking promos. It was just the best. And especially the one that took place this past Wednesday, especially when it came to having her match against Nyla Rose and having to talk about Vicky Guerrero, that the only reason why she's still relevant is because of her last name in the history of all wrestling. That to me was one hell of a shot. And unfortunately for Vicky and Nyla, their comeback was not as good as how Britt Baker demolished them. She literally burned them too. And yeah, the comeback was absolutely horrible. I'm sorry to say. And I'm surprised it's not here because that's one of my highlights that I wanted to hear once again. But looks like I'll just watch Dynamite just to hear that segment again because, like I said, Dr. Britt Baker, her promos are on fire. Her matches are even worth seeing now. Second, and I'm just saying that not because that I'm finally on the bandwagon for Dr. Britt Baker. I've always liked her. It's just how she came up as a villain. Obviously, I wasn't too keen on, but hey, that's how she needed. That's what she needed to do in order to get over, and she's getting over. And you just got to recognize the realest stuff with these performers, nonetheless. So we are going to get into the highlights that I think really pulled it off. We are going to, another one that I wanted to talk before having to jump to the one on Dr. Britt Baker was obviously where was Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page going? Obviously, having to be ignored since he's the number one contender, and Kenny Omega does not want to give Adam the time of day, but now it's leading up to the point where these two men already met in the ring, the Elite on one side, Dark Order having to come to another, and then at the very end of it, it's all coming down to a group elimination match. And obviously that's going to take place sometime soon, but what we're really seeing, the big picture is Hangman Adam Page, number one contender for Kenny Omega's AEW World Championship at All Out. We know because we can feel it. And I want to make this perfectly clear. Obviously, there were people that were kind of offended by my last episode, the way I titled it, No Love for AEW and Ticketmaster for now. I want to make it perfectly clear. It ain't that I don't like AEW. I love AEW. It's the fans that obviously I've got no love for because, hey, once again, I know I'm going to complain about it and bitch about it, but how in the hell does it make sense that when you're trying to get tickets online and there's 500 and so people in front of you, it doesn't make any fucking sense. It just doesn't. And at the end of it, being an hour on that freaking app, I end up with nothing. So yeah, I'm going to make it clear, no love for the AEW fans of my city and Ticketmaster for now. But I still love AEW action. If that wasn't the case, I wouldn't even be reviewing a positive about Fyter Fest or any of the other shows that have taken place. AEW is the bomb. We all know that. So we're going to jump into the match with the audio highlights of Jon Moxley having to defend his IWGP Championship against Machine Gun Carl Anderson. Now, another AEW's been constant about opening matches to start out the show, and I think this one was the culmination of it all, in my opinion. This was a really good way to start Fyter Fest, to be honest. Let's listen in.
What a right hand. Big time right hand by the champion. Oh, this crowd, sold out several weeks. There he goes again. Second time he's done that. Oh, we're going to have a finish here, guys. I do believe. Moxley off the top rope with a superplex. Right first goes Carl Anderson, and he's feeling it. Look at the side of his head. Are they bite marks on the side of his head? What is that? Maybe. Yeah. What a great angle we have here. You can see the superplex, and then you can see the impact jolting through the body of the challenger, Carl Anderson. So much pressure, pain on the spine. Sometimes rip your legs useless. Well-placed move by Carl Anderson. Drop step by Moxley. Release German suplex. Carl Anderson, though, high boot. Moxley shrugs it off and comes back. Moxley fighting on just way of life. He loves it as much as anybody I've ever been around. Carl Anderson looking for the gun stun, but Moxley, both men, have the same thing in mind. These guys are so resilient. Again, wow. Stereo clothesline, both men drop down. Quite the slobber knocker to kick us off here tonight. A huge night of Dynamite ahead. As we mentioned, the Coffin Match, the FTW Championship match. We'll also hear from Hangman Adam Page as he responds to the AEW World Champion Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega, of course, the first ever United States Heavyweight IWGP United States Heavyweight Champion. Moxley drops up. He's looking for the sleeper. Moxley changed levels and tripped Anderson, I believe. He's got him drained. He's looking for that Godstyle pile driver. Yeah, Anderson doing a great job keeping the balance. Hard knee strikes in the sternum. You don't take anything away from Carl Anderson. He is one out of the head. This could be it.
Yeah, I was uncomfortable with that on how Jon Moxley landed, but after seeing him get up within a matter of about 3-4 seconds, it's like, okay, he's doing fine. But yeah, that had me worried for a bit. That took me back to like when it was Scott Norton versus Rick Steiner. That's what that reminded me of. Remember that? 97? Yeah, that really disturbed the hell out of me.
United States Heavyweight Champion could be coming to an end. Of course, I mentioned he beat Lance Archer in that Texas Death Match, the Tokyo Dome, to win the title. He's also beat Juice Robinson, Minoru Suzuki, Kenta, and Yuji Nagata right here on Dynamite just over 2 months ago. Moxley moved to the midsection. He's looking for the paradigm shift. Got it. No, oh boy. Great counter. Nice counter. You're exactly right, Tony. Nice counter. You got to be a great counter wrestler to hang with John Moxley. But Moxley did the smart thing. Yeah. He rolled towards the corner. He rolled towards the ropes. Try and get away from it. So if there is a cover, maybe you get a foot on the ropes. Shows the amazing wherewithal of a blue-eyed backward John Moxley. Look at the blood coming out of his nose. Maybe he's flipped. What a battle to begin Fyter Fest. Is this great or what? A sold-out crowd live here in Austin, Texas. So great to be back and so great to see Jon Moxley back in action. Carl Anderson. Oh, let's sit out with the stun. He's got the leg hooked. Whoa. Saw how close that one was, ladies and gentlemen. No time to spare on that kick out. One fall, 60-minute time limit. Carl Anderson go for the top rope gun stun. Yeah, you saw him coming, Excalibur. You saw him ripcord. A short arm clothesline from Moxley. And now, paradigm shift with authority. Hooked away. It got it. Moxley wins it. Moxley retains.
No winner of this match. And still, IWGP United States Heavyweight Champion, Jon Moxley.
Yeah, that was explosive, of course, with Justin Roberts and his great intro. Jon Moxley. Although I can do a little better than him, but Don't want to put down Justin Roberts. Nonetheless, great match. Carl Anderson, John Moxley, IWGP United States Championship. Obviously, this also signifies the fact that Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows returned to New Japan, like how we stated earlier. Could this be, I guess, the forbidden door and works with having to see these guys come back to New Japan after 5 years? They're in a part of a tag tournament, the T3 tournament, them being involved in it not that long ago, within this week. And also that John Moxley has to defend again next Wednesday for Fyter Fest Night 2, having to defend that U.S. title against the former U.S. champion and who never talked about having a rematch until this point, the Murder Hawk Monster Lance Archer, in a Texas death match.
Yep.
And we witnessed it before, so hopefully we get a refresher course once that match takes place. But yeah, that's going to happen next Wednesday on TNT. But let's go to the very last highlight of the night, the main event of that evening, the coffin match between Darby Allin and All Ego Ethan Page. My God, the way that these men have put each other through, it was like, damn, man, barbaric. Nonetheless, it was damn excited. But yeah, these guys were spent after having to put each other through hell. Let's listen in.
Both men to a battle inside the coffin. One's got to get out, and the lid's going to close, and we've got a done deal. We've seen Darby
And of course, this is the point where they're close to the middle of the match towards the end. Scorpio Sky did a little bit of interference. Sting, the Icon, showed up, got him out of the way. And that way, there's a straight up physicality between Page and Allen. Did you say what I thought he said? Mm-hmm. This famous 1997 face. Paintbrushing? Paintbrush.
That's one way of breaking it. Finger out of his face, man. Darby comes. Launched out of the coffin to the floor. Darby elevated. Oh, look at this. Hold it down, buddy. May have been that turnbuckle to the face or the side of the head. That could have been, or could have been even on the corner of that coffin. He fell on the outside. Now, how will Page respond after tasting his own blood here? We'll find this out. Main event on AEW Dynamite. You know, JR, a lot of times it changes the complexion of the person who's bleeding. It certainly does. Yeah, it really does. Change your attitude. Change your attitude. Some like it, some don't. Ethan Page once again showing off his strength advantage over Darby Allin, but Darby hammering the jaw of Page with those elbows. Oh, he breaks the back of the knee. He twisted his knee. They're coming down. Oh, stunner. Page's right knee took a beating there. An ugly twist. And now Darby. Oh my God, a coffin drop from here. Gonna take a LHM chance. Boy, he was. Ethan Page. Oh my God. But when he got no fear like Darby Allin, I can see that. Oh, no. And Ego's edge from the top. No. Spine first on those steel steps.
That thought on the steel steps, man. I don't know how Darby Allin has absorbed that punishment at that point. Moving forward in the match, that was just damn, man. This guy, how he just took all of that and just went on and finished the match. That's something. That's something huge. They better appreciate that. And biting him. Yeah, this was something else. Having to use the skateboard. Look at this. That was just having to add the insult to the finger marks. and I felt that he wasn't done.
Darby surveying the sold-out crowd here in Austin, Texas, as he celebrates his victory. Darby, what courage, what conviction by both men. What's he going?
He wasn't done.
Come on, Evie. He's not going to. No,
There you go, yeah.
drop a closed casket.
Coffin to coffin.
What the world? Oh, my God. Darby Allin driving the final nail in the coffin of Ethan Page.
Coffin to coffin, man. That's what it told me that's how it was going to close out the show. Coffin to coffin. It was just outlandish. It was physical. It was brutal, man. Hats off to both Page and Darby Allin for closing the show. That coffin match was something else. A great night one of Fyter Fest. Can't wait to see what night 2 is going to be all about, and we're going to give you the rundown at the end of this episode of what's on the card so far for Fyter Fest night 2. So now we move on to a couple of things on SmackDown before we start talking about the full card for tomorrow night's Money in the Bank ladder match. This is the first SmackDown, and of course I gotta say this right on top. Texas, you are on fire. You're the first state of getting WWE action live, the first state to get AEW action live, of course, even though previously Florida was the first one to get AEW action, so hats off to them, of course. But Texas has been the state so far where they're getting 3 consecutive nights of WWE action, SmackDown, Money in the Bank, and Monday Night Raw afterwards. So it's gonna be a moment to remember for Texas as this pandemic starts to clear up a little bit, and these guys can get to back to action with fan reaction, because it makes a difference, a huge difference nonetheless. So SmackDown obviously started out really, really good. We're going to get into the opening match in just a bit once we run down the card. But one of the things that really took our breaths away was the fact that a former NXT champion is back on the main roster and decided to appear on Friday Night SmackDown. So we're going to get into that audio clip. And if you missed SmackDown, you don't know what the hell you have missed out on. So we're going to get into that right about now.
Everybody is talking about the Money in the Bank ladder match, but what nobody has the courage to talk about is the fact that Sami Zayn is purposely being excluded. No, it's because they want you to focus on all the happy things. Oh, look, the fans are in attendance again. Oh, look, a new entranceway, shiny lights. It's all to distract you. It's all to distract you from the fact that for over a year, there has been a conspiracy targeting Sami Zayn. But it's fine. No, it's actually fine. Because tonight, for the first time in forever, I have something in my corner that I haven't had. And that's you. Yeah, it's you. It's you people. Because you've seen it all. You've seen me be victimized. If there was any justice in the world, this briefcase would be lowered right now, and I would be handed that contract on a silver platter. Right now. You know what? That would be justice. And I will not let this show go on for one more minute until justice is shown. Yes! Are you kidding me? I am. Yes! Oh my! Finn Balor is here! looking better than ever. Dane driven into the turnbuckle. Finn Balor here to send a message. Is the Balor Club on Smackdown? Top rope for Balor. Coup de grace. Yes, it is. What did Sammy do? Why'd Sammy just get his ass beat by Finn Balor? I'm pumped for it. I'm happy about it. But why did Sammy just get beat up by Finn? No conspiracy here. Finn Balor is back.
Yeah, let's make that clear. Finn Balor is back, all right. He's back on the main roster. He's never been on SmackDown, so this is a whole new, fresh start for the Prince. What I'm kind of disappointed is the fact that they're having him start out with the mid-carders, when in reality, he's a superstar. And now that he's on SmackDown, I'm pretty sure his main goal is to get back the one title that he's really never lost. He had to give it up because of a shoulder injury some time ago when he had his match against Seth Rollins, because let's not forget, Finn Balor was the first ever Universal Champion.
Pretty much the high hopes that I have for Finn Balor, and now that he's on SmackDown, is hopefully that this one is better, because ever since he relinquished the Universal Championship, but quite frankly, it's been pretty much, and for the record, this is my opinion only, the company just put him in a somewhat demeaning role, and pretty much he had to find himself, which is why I think he had to go back to NXT. But now that now he's now on the SmackDown roster, hopefully this could be a much better one for Finn Balor, and possibly it could start possibly by next Friday, and as the road to SummerSlam continues.
Now let's make it clear, Jade. He really never had a demeaning role. The fact is, his role never even got started. What happened was that during his match with Seth Rollins, I forgot what was that pay-per-view, he suffered a shoulder injury, but to his credit, he finished the match. But having to hear from doctors and the fact that he can't perform with a broken shoulder, he knew that he had to relinquish the Universal title. He had to give it up. So his focus was at the time to heal himself better and to be back. But having to come back into the main roster, knowing that he would be left out and how everything has changed from there, he made the smartest move to go back to NXT and start fresh. So he made the smart choice. Because, yeah, if he would have come back to the main roster, then, yeah, maybe he would have been in a demeaning role. But it never happened. So he went back to NXT, started off fresh, brought back that Prince aura from New Japan in the time of then from 2-3 years ago. And he had one hell of a run, a successful run, yet again, as NXT champion. So let's have that clear. And I hope that this one won't be as what we feel or we can predict that it could get there. But I want to see that he becomes yet again the Universal Champion with no hocus pocus, no injuries, nothing, because it would be a horrible omen that history would repeat itself once gaining the Universal Championship. I really don't want to see that. I really want him to have a good run, be successful, but hopefully management can boost up Finn Balor back to superstar status where he belongs. Before we get into the card, one more thing we want to air out is the highlights from what happened, the SmackDown Women's Championship. That was a really, really good one between Carmella, the number one contender, that was added at the last moment since Bayley's out on injury, as Bianca Belair defended her title this past Friday.
And now the power of Belair dropping, slamming Carmella. Oh, now Carmella. And not allowing Bianca Belair to build any momentum. Bianca said, I'm going to do it anyway. And
I like that move. I like that move. Here, I thought that move wasn't going to connect, having to do the flips and then the moonsault. Here, I thought it was going to not connect properly, and yet it did. I love Bianca's athleticism. Now that was just timed precisely. If it was out of sync, then yeah, that would have been really botched up. I think there was one botched move that took place in this match. Maybe we'll get to see it here. Maybe. But I think it's going to happen here. Let's see.
Bailey this week before Bailey had successful knee surgery. Bailey gave her some pointers against Belair, Carmella said. And Bianca Belair with dragging Carmella up now to the second rope. The power forcing Carmella up there. Carmella trying to reverse it here, punching the EST in the back. The fascinating crowd.
Oh yeah, the Frankenstein. It looked kind of botched up. Pay attention. Watch this. Yeah, it's like I seen some sort of hesitance right there on the delivery. It wasn't really good, really best. But that was the only negative that I had about the entire match. Everything else was just good. This is what I love, the raw power and how she got Carmella out of that hug, brought her up into that vertical and delivered. That was a neat comeback.
The late vertical suplex cover by Belair to retain. Carmella stays in it. And now Carmella using this the ponytail, the long braid to her advantage. The Bo Jackson Jordan's kicking her on the face. And Carmella misses with a super kick. Belair! As Sasha Banks, how that feels. Now as Carmella in position for the kiss of death. The KOD by Belair. Cover. Retains the title. Here is your winner. And still the Smackdown Women's Champion.
Hats off to both of them. Bianca Belair still retaining her SmackDown Women's Championship. And at the end of it all, still the most beautiful woman, hot stuff, in all of WWE from Staten Island, Carmella. Pretty good match, Jade.
It was. The fans in Houston were there for a treat. And pretty much bell to bell, Bianca and Carmella, they gave it their all. And pretty much Carmella pretty much thought she had the advantage by using Bianca's own hair against her, but Bianca knows her own body evidently, and Carmella pretty much brought every arsenal that she could, but she cannot withstand against rightfully so earning the title of EST because she is the fiercest, she is the strongest, she is the roughest, and that's why she's the best. Why she's still the WWE SmackDown Women's Champion, Bianca Belair.
She is the roughest, toughest hombre, whatever. Let a six-pack shooter. Well, she could be. Nonetheless, that was SmackDown, and we'll still cover the opening attraction while we give the rundown of tomorrow night's Money in the Bank ladder match. Now, I want to say this right now: we will not do a live reaction on Money in the Bank tomorrow night. We will still watch it with a keen eye, and we will still bring next Saturday on Wrestling Weekend recap what were the ending results for Money in the Bank. So all we're going to do right now is just give the rundown and predict on who would be winning those matches. Here we go. For the Raw Tag Team titles, and we understand that this match has been added onto the actual card. The phenomenal AJ Styles and his tag team partner, Big Chocolatey Cool Omos and Little HBK. They will defend their titles against Eric and Ivar of the Viking Raiders. Jade, who do you think will win that match?
Well, ever since winning the Raw titles the tag titles at WrestleMania, AJ and Omos pretty much, they say we can plow any competition they had, but it's been quite a while ever since we saw the Viking Raiders in action, and they pretty much have one goal, and that is to become champions one day. And pretty much it's been, many people have been downhearted, myself included, after finding out about Ivar's injury, but it's a good thing he's back, and now he and Eric are on a quest, and on the quest to win tag team gold. And I got nothing against AJ and Omos. I mean, pretty much they held their own. But my feeling is that we could smell new Raw Tag Team champions on the horizon, and that's the Viking Raiders.
All right. Well, and just to be fair, I mean, this past Monday they had the singles matches for all guys. I don't remember how it went. I think AJ faced he faced Daibar.
AJ faced Daibar, yes.
And Omos faced Eric.
Yes.
So obviously there was, I guess it was kind of even in a way, but at the end of it all, Ivar defeated AJ, Omos defeated Eric. So it was kind of a stalemate balance as far as who would have the upper hand for the tag team match at Money in the Bank. I'm, as much as I like the Raiders, and I really do because we've followed them ever since Ring of Honor, when they had a different name and different names of theirs, Raymond Rowe and Hanson, of course. I believe AJ and Omos are still going to stay Raw Tag Team Champions. Unless if Viking Raiders get the belts, woohoo, that would be one heck of a miracle, and I'm all for that as well. For the Raw Women's Championship, again, Charlotte will get her shot again, going up against Rhea Ripley as she defends her title yet again. Now, I got to say right now, I was disappointed in the last match. Obviously, from what we were seeing, Rhea Ripley was trying to upstage Charlotte on what she would do if she was Charlotte. I still want to see the validation of Rhea Ripley having to defeat Charlotte. At this point now, it's at all costs. Doesn't matter if she has to upstage Charlotte, if she does it on the level, like how she did when she faced her off at WrestleMania the previous year. Obviously, her confidence was broken. It took a while for Rhea Ripley to rebuild herself. And I think this is the time where she can definitely put a stamp of approval and say, you know, I have what it takes to defeat her. I'm going to beat her, and I'm going to hold on to this championship. And finally, this is the hard work and the culmination of everything that I had to endure because of Charlotte. So I still want to see that happen tomorrow night. So I still want to see Rhea Ripley retain, but I want her to do it the smart way, and I want her to outsmart Charlotte the right act. Or even if she got to play some dirty trick, but it's got to be on some sort of level where it doesn't put her in, I guess, in a downgrading level and say, well, you had to stoop so low just to measure up to Charlotte. That kind of feeling. I don't want that from Rhea Ripley. But if it goes to a certain point, that she's got to be really tactical. She's got to be smart about that. Jade, your thoughts and your prediction.
Well, first of all, I just want to say that it's been over a year since Rhea Ripley had the shadow of Charlotte Flair. She's been dealing with it for over a year now, and ever since now that she made the jump to she made the jump that she's now part of the Raw roster, and practically, as I have to say, fans were cheered of the potential match between Charlotte Flair, Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania on account of internal confusion, and of course we're just going to make to condense this to condense the story. What happened? The matches they had first at WrestleMania Backlash, and then so it looked like pretty much. Charlotte Flair tried to get under Rhea Ripley's skin, and pretty much the first match they had at WrestleMania Backlash was plausible, but of course the one at Hell in a Cell was not, quite frankly, not. It was aesthetic. It was just a downer. And yes, I agree with you on one thing. Tomorrow, it's pretty much you gotta bet all your chips at the table, and pretty much Rhea Ripley has to say to herself, I'm not gonna get the shadow of. Charlotte Flair's still gonna hover over my shoulder unless I defeat her straight up, 1-on-1 in the match, legitimately. She's gonna say to herself, if the more Charlotte Flair exits the run, and the more Charlotte Flair exits run, and it goes right to her in her head, she's gonna believe it, and with all intents and purposes, Charlotte Flair will prove a point. The only way that cannot happen, Rhea Ripley has to take it to Charlotte Flair. I think she can do it. It's just a matter of her believing in herself. That's all. And things that way, Rhea Ripley can say, I won this match, I won it the right way. If she can defeat Charlotte Flair legitimately tomorrow night, that she will obviously earn her place among the ranks, not only in the WWE but in the entire industry as well.
For the WWE Championship, Kofi Kingston is the number one contender to the almighty Bobby Lashley. Jade, your prediction on that match?
After what I saw last Monday on Raw, the way it concluded, Bobby Lashley was totally arrayed, and the way how he just threw a tantrum and the MVP lounge and how he just hurled the furniture. He just chased the escorts out of the ring, and he just came to the conclusion, said, after losing two matches, first the tag match and then the singles match with Xavier Woods, it finally dawned on him that someone was second guessing himself and said, I need to validate myself as well, and it is going to be a costly way for Bobby Lashley to say I can defeat anybody straight up, and pretty much it's gonna take some doing. Will he do it? I'm not really sure, but I think this might sound trite, but it could. There are signs indicating that the Almighty Championship run could be over, and chances are it might lead that way. So I'm gonna say, as much as I want to do it, I'm smelling a new WWE champion. I'm smelling Kofi Kingston getting the belt.
Well, I'm gonna have to agree to disagree right there, because even though we have been seeing lately the buildup of the possibilities of Kofi Kingston getting back that championship, and he was almost close to defeating him numerous weeks ago on Raw, and how the New Day have been having wins lately over Bobby Lashley, how, pretty much they were getting him off his rocker, and even with MVP's interference. From the way things are looking now, it looks like Bobby Lashley is over the edge, and at this point, I can smell him tearing apart Kofi Kingston really quick. He can demolish him, he can bash him, he can physically brutalize him. He can, if he wanted to, if this was a Mortal Kombat game, he could tear his head off. And you see the spine of Kofi connected with his head. And as much as I would love to see Kofi Kingston be the champion again, and from the plans that I'm hearing that could happen with Bobby Lashley, I'm smelling him keeping the championship yet again. So I believe he's still going to retain the WWE title tomorrow night against Kofi Kingston. As much as I would love to see Kofi Kingston, and if for some reason it happens, cool, I'm still on board with that. But I feel, me personally, he's still going to retain the championship. And even I smell MVP, of course, doing his dirty tricks to distract the opponent for Bobby Lashley to get the upper hand. Just mentioned this past Friday, the Usos will have a title shot against the Mysterios for the Smackdown Tag Team titles. This match is going to be seen on the kickoff. Jade, Usos, and Mysterios, your prediction?
Well, ever since they became the new SmackDown
tag team
champions, the Mysterios, they've been on the roll lately, and they'll do everything it takes to retain the belts. But ever since now that Jimmy has officially seen the light and is now part of the camp of the head of the table, reuniting with his brother Jay, it's like pretty much there's still shades of the old Usos. Well, not so much the old Usos like when they first started, but like when they reinvented themselves, they're still like the day one-ish type of guys, yeah. And they're still there now under the guidance of the cousin, the head of the table, and Paul Heyman. And pretty much they're still saying like, yeah. And as much as part of me says, oh yeah, it would be nice to see the Usos demolish the Mysterios, but I got a feeling the Mysterios will retain the tag belts.
Okay. I want to do an agree to disagree, but yeah, it can go other way. I would love to really see the Usos get their belts back, and that way the Samoan bloodline can be empowered totally of the tag belts with the Universal Championship. But the way, and we haven't seen the Mysterios be in action all that much, and it's kind of understandable because Dominic and Ray, you know, it's a fresh act. You want to keep it fresh. You don't want to get it over stale, and you got to have competitors to get at them, whether it be non-title or for the titles. So, as much as I would love to see the Usos become champions, and since this is on the kickoff show, it would have to make sense if the Mysterios still retain the SmackDown Tag Team titles. So that's my final verdict on that. And while we're on the subject, we are going to get into the opening match of SmackDown before we start predicting the match between the Rated R Superstar Edge and Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship. So let's get into that audio clip of the opening act on SmackDown. It was a brilliant opening, the way they started out the show, how they showed the fans' reaction from the state of Texas and leading to where all these guys were coming out. Let's listen to it.
By Jimmy Uso as Roman Reigns looks on into a deep arm drag takedown by Dominic.
And kudos to WWE for opening SmackDown with these guys for a 6-man tag as well.
Jimmy Uso off the apron and out, driving Jay to the top turnbuckle. Edge looking better than ever. The Hall of Famer with a baseball slide to Jimmy. Roman Reigns runs into a clothesline. How fired up is Edge? He said certain superstars take him to different places. Roman Reigns takes him to the top. Went for the Samoan drop. Tag, Ray's legal. But I don't think Jey Uso realizes it. Now he does. Showtime! Rey Mysterio flying a roll. Face first off the DDT. Covered by Rey for the win. And Jimmy's got to break things up. And now Dominic Mysterio. Remember, the Mysterios defend the tag titles against the Usos in the Money in the Bank kickoff show on Sunday. Flying Mysterio! And now Roman Reigns driving Dominic face first into the ring post. Equalizing things a little bit for the family. Back in the ring, though, Jey Uso, big right to Rey Mysterio. And Rey Mysterio sending Jey in a position. Rey Mysterio ready to dial it up, looking for the 619, intercepted by Roman Reigns. Driving Rey, kidney first to the apron. Kicking off a 619 here in Houston. Oh my God, spear by Edge. And look at this now, shoulders down and a kick out. Cover now, Jay's got the touch. Here are your winners, the Universal Champion, Roman Reigns, and the Uso. And now from behind, Jey Uso attacking Rey Mysterio. The bloodline with the win, establishing dominance here tonight. And now Dominic comes to his father's aid. And Jimmy Uso into the fight as well. The brawl's on. 2 sleeps away from a tag team championship match for the Usos. Beating up the Mysterios is a good idea. Yeah, look at Edge with a chair in hand. And making good use of it. Roman Reigns, Superman punch. Oh boy. Skiing. Yeah, we have. But we've seen Edge do this before. Roman Reigns, perhaps with payback at his eyes. Second spear of the night from Edge on Roman. The master manipulator, the ultimate opportunist, the Rated R Superstar. And now, Roman Reigns in trouble. Edge, don't get it in just like WrestleMania. The same move Roman Reigns did caused moments of fear. Planted the seed in his mind. And while his this be the scene come Sunday? Will Reigns tap out? Will Edge become Universal Champion?
Obviously, Edge has been seeing that scene so many times in the last number of weeks because it's been one of the highlights from this past WrestleMania, how Edge has that piece of that steel from the steel chair having to force up upon, the mouth and the cheekbones of the head of the table and the tribal chief, Universal Champion Roman Reigns. I mean, just having to look at it, how I'm feeling right now, I'm pretty sure that's exactly how Roman felt. If it really was pressed any further, being pulled back like so.
It was. I mean, pretty much Edge when he pretty much grabs a steel chair and it just messes that piece up. It's like when he did it to him and he did it to the Usos. Like you take that, like I don't know how to measure, but that I guess I would like to call it an inanimate carbon rod and just stick it right in the mouth and you're pretty much grinding and to the point where you can nearly grind the teeth horribly and that was very excruciating for all of them. But nevertheless, that tomorrow can all it out because it's been months since the Radar Superstar and the Tribal Chief got on ever since WrestleMania in that triple threat match. But now that it's 1-on-1, God knows what surprises to expect.
So your prediction for the match between the Rated R Superstar Hall of Famer Edge against the Tribal Chief and Universal Champion Roman Reigns?
He said it more. He said it once, and he said a bunch of times. He claimed he never lost that championship because it was the belt that he held that unfortunately I don't know who he was racing, but then that's what caused them to suffer what was a career-ending injury and what led to his comeback, and he just can't wait to taste that to taste that universal strap again. But as much as the WWE Universe can't wait to see the Radar Superstar get the belt, I got a feeling that the head of the table will walk out of Money in the Bank still the Universal Champion.
I have that's exactly my the feeling that I have also. I would love to see Edge be the champion one more time, but how they have this build up with Roman Reigns being so strong, it was kind of lacking for just a tad bit, but they're still on the right track as long as Heyman and Reigns are on this storyline, being very firm to the character of what the Tribal Chief should be. I still see Roman Reigns as Universal Champion. I don't see him losing this championship anytime soon, and especially when we've been hearing rumors about a current actor, former WWE superstar, making his way to maybe start a storyline heading up towards SummerSlam, but we'll discuss that in the weeks to come. So our prediction, obviously, Roman Reigns will still be Tribal Chief, still Universal Champion. Now let's talk about the prediction for the Money in the Bank ladder matches. We'll begin with the women's ladder match. Nikki Ash, Asuka, Naomi, Alexa Bliss, Liv Morgan, Zelena Vega. The WWE Women's Tag Team Champions Natalya and Tamina was added last this past Friday. Jade. There's 8 women. If let's say if you would predict at least who would there's 8 women. Let's say we only can predict 4 picks. Who would be your 4 picks to possibly win this women's Money in the Bank ladder match?
Okay, I'm gonna go with top 4 because who I'm expecting to win, and I got a dark horse. Okay, so the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Okay, so my top pick to win will be Liv Morgan. My number 2 pick would be Asuka. My number 3 would be Naomi, and my dark horse would be Alexa Bliss.
Okay. Haven't heard anything, so we're just next to it.
Yeah.
Whew, okay. So my good choices. My predictions would be first one, Liv Morgan. Second, I'm going to say Little Miss Bliss. Third, Asuka. And fourth, Zelena Vega. Why? I don't know, but that's how I feel it. At least how this has been building up and who's getting somewhat of a push. I'm feeling that the push is leading towards more for Liv Morgan. Zelena Vega just barely came back after being re-signed. Her husband's no longer there now. He's in AEW. And I'm sorry we forgot about giving the update of that angle. That angle's still going on strong. Cody called him out. Of course, Malachi Black having to talk about, the owner and the horse, that whole story. But it exploded once these two men just went at each other and security had to, separate them. That was another good one. I'm sorry we didn't get to add it into it here. I thought we were going to run out of time, but I might as well add that in now. So, Vega just actually came back not that long ago just to be added into this match. I do hope that we get to see more good stuff of Zelena Vega now that she can totally focus on her career yet again, exactly where she left off before having to be released from WWE. But yeah, I feel Liv Morgan is getting more of the push than anybody else on the SmackDown side. On the Raw side, there's really hasn't been much. It's kind of like back and forth, more for the Nikki Ash character now that she was the brainchild behind having to be the superhero of this generation, and she's been getting wins, so obviously this character can pull over. Maybe she could be a possibility, but unfortunately, she doesn't make it on my list. Maybe I'm going to be shooting myself in the foot if for some reason she ends up being the winner, but anything can happen, of course, in the WWE. And finally, the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Ricochet, John Morrison, Riddle, Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, King Nakamura, Big E, and Kevin Owens. Jade, your 4 picks.
Well, all right. This is gonna sound strange, but of course, again, I got a top pick, and I'm gonna go with Dark Horse. Okay. My top pick, I'm gonna go with well, as much as I want to say, but actually, my top pick will be Shinsuke Nakamura. My second pick would be Big E. My third pick would be Seth Rollins, and my dark horse would be, and I'm saying the dark horse because he's probably unlikely to win it, but I'm still gonna mention it anyway. John Morrison.
Wow, that is an interesting choice. I'm actually shocked. Well, probably for mine, you're gonna say it's typical, but hey, I don't care. I got my top, and I got a dark horse. My top one will definitely be Big E. Dark horse will be McIntyre, Drew McIntyre. Second, I say Riddle. And third would be Seth Rollins. I mean, you got a really good batch of superstars for this match, a really good selection, and it makes it really kind of hard to even figure out who would be the one to win it. We know that Seth Rollins already has the history of winning it, for as creative and opportunist as it was back then, towards WrestleMania. What was the timeline back in 2016?
2031. That was 31.
31.
31, because
that's where he cashed it in. Right?
Yeah.
And I love that WrestleMania, how NWO DX appeared. The main event was Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns.
Yes.
And Seth Rollins cashed it in at WrestleMania. He was the first one to do it, and he got it. Lucky son of a gun. But yeah, that one was a really good, epic WrestleMania moment. But yeah, I don't see Seth getting it unless if for some reason he does, then yeah, maybe he'll pull another WrestleMania moment or a closer moment or God knows. But yeah, so many selections, it's kind of hard to pick. I already got my list. You already mentioned your list, and we're going to stick with it. But nonetheless, Money in the Bank, ladies and gentlemen, is tomorrow night, going to be seen on the U.S., on Peacock, everywhere else in the around the world WWE network. And before we sign off, we want to mention some of the matches that are going to be seen next week as far as NXT and AEW are concerned. We all know that, of course, the aftermath of Money in the Bank. We'll stay tuned to Raw and SmackDown to see who have won the contracts, to see if the champions are still champions or we witness new champions. We will stay glued to Raw and SmackDown for that. But nonetheless, coming up for NXT this Tuesday, p.m. Eastern, 7 Central on USA, the NXT Women's title will be defended as Raquel Gonzalez will take on Xia Li, the number one contender for that match. AEW this Wednesday on TNT, Fyter Fest 2. The matches on the card will be Dr. Britt Baker will defend her championship against Nyla Rose. Jon Moxley defends his IWGP US title against the Murder Hawk Monster Lance Archer in a Texas death match. Chris Jericho begins his 5 Labors of Jericho against Shawn Spears of the Pinnacle. The stipulation is that the chair that is going to be used, only Shawn Spears is legal of using it. Jericho cannot use any weapons whatsoever. Otherwise, he won't get a single shot against MJF. And finally, Blade will go one-on-one with freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that does it for our part. We want to thank you very much for joining us for this edition of the Wrestling Weekend Recap. It was action-packed from where we started with the results of tonight's Impact Wrestling Slammiversary to tomorrow night's WWE Money in the Bank pay-per-view. And the greatest thing about it is that the fans are finally back where they belong, in those arenas, because it's already been more than 18 months having to be in our households, having to watch all the action from our homes. Now we can finally get out, stretch out, and live the ruckus, live the screaming, the pandemonium, the excitement, having to be in those arenas. Can't wait to see more of that. I hope that our luck changes if there's extra tickets for AEW All Out. I can't believe it's sold out. That's the first thing that's sold out of AEW events coming to Chicago. The August 2nd show for Monday Night Raw that's coming to Chicago, I still haven't heard if it's sold out, but tickets are still available. Tickets are still available for AEW Dynamite, as well as the new TV show Rampage that's about to debut in just weeks. So can't wait to see how all of that goes down now that we can, these companies can finally say, welcome back, wrestling fans. So until then, for the one and only Jade, I am Aceman X. Thank you very much for joining us tonight on another edition of the Wrestling Weekend Recap. Like I mentioned, we will not do a live reaction towards Money in the Bank tomorrow night, but we will give the final results for the next episode of the Wrestling Weekend Recap. Until then, if you have been vaccinated, awesome, cool. If you have not, what are you waiting for? In the meantime, stay masked up, be safe, peace and love worldwide. Have a good weekend, everyone. Thank you very much once again for joining us. And of course, already up to this point, 2,750 subscribers. Thank you so much. We could not have done this without you. You guys are freaking awesome. Keep it going. Until then, once again, have a good night, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. We will wait to see you guys yet again next Saturday for another edition of the Wrestling Weekend Recap. Have a good night, everyone.